You can love her with everything you have. Give her your time, your loyalty, your energy. But if she can't give you these three things, you're not in a relationship. You're in a slow collapse. And the truth is, most men don't realize it until it's too late. Every man wants to be respected, appreciated, and desired. But too many settle for attention, for crumbs, for moments that feel like love but fade as soon as you stop trying. Because deep down, you hope that if you just love harder, she'll finally love you right. That's the trap. The psychological trick that keeps men stuck, believing that love must be earned, when in reality, real love meets you halfway. So here's the truth most men never hear. The first thing a woman must give you is peace. If her presence feels like walking on eggshells, if you can't speak without being criticized, if your effort always turns into an argument, you're not growing, you're shrinking. Peace is not a luxury, it's a foundation. A woman who truly values you will protect your peace, not provoke your chaos. She'll listen when you talk, not weaponize your vulnerability later. And if you're sitting there thinking, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm overreacting, you're not. That voice inside you that feels drained, that feels unheard, that feels small, is the part of you screaming for something real. When a woman respects your peace, you become a better man, stronger, more focused, more confident. When she doesn't, your life becomes an endless cycle of trying to prove your worth to someone who's already decided to ignore it. So if she can't give you peace, you don't stay hoping she'll change. You walk, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because the moment you choose peace over chaos, you reclaim your power. And that's when everything in your life, your focus, your drive, your confidence, begins to shift. Because a man who protects his peace becomes unstoppable. Now tell me, have you ever stayed in something that drained your peace because you were afraid to lose her? Comment below, and if this message hit home, like, share, and subscribe, because too many men need to hear this truth tonight. The second thing she must give you is respect, and not the kind that's spoken, but the kind that's shown. You can always tell when a woman respects you because she doesn't try to control you, compete with you, or belittle your effort. She values your time, your word, your presence. But when that respect disappears, everything else collapses. A man can survive without love for a while, but he cannot survive without respect. Because when a woman stops respecting you, she stops seeing you as the man she once admired. And when that happens, she'll start testing you, not to get closer, but to see how much you'll tolerate. She'll ignore your boundaries, dismiss your opinions, and slowly train you to accept less and less of yourself. Respect isn't about dominance, it's about mutual recognition. It's when she looks at you and sees a man of value, not because of what you buy, not because of what you say, but because of how you carry yourself. The moment you start chasing approval, you teach her to treat you like an option. The moment you start begging for understanding, you tell her she's above you. But here's the paradox most men don't realize. You don't earn her respect by doing more for her. You earn it by doing less of what disrespects yourself. You earn it when you stop explaining your worth and start living it. You earn it when your silence becomes louder than your begging. You earn it when you walk away from manipulation with dignity, not drama. Women are wired to sense confidence and conviction. When she sees you stand your ground, not from ego but from self-respect, something shifts inside her. That's when she remembers who you are. That's when attraction reignites. Because no woman truly values a man she can control. She may play with him, test him, or use him, but she won't respect him. So when respect fades, you don't chase it, you reclaim it. You do that by choosing yourself, even when it hurts. Because once you set the standard, every woman who steps into your life will either rise to meet it or fall away trying. Now I want to ask you, have you ever felt that shift, that moment when she stopped respecting you? What did you do? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because what comes next will change how you see every woman from now on. The third thing she must give you is emotional support. Not constant affection, not endless validation, but genuine support for the man you are and the man you're becoming. Because here's the truth, no one tells men. The world already tests you every day. You fight silent battles that no one sees. The pressure to provide, to perform, to stay strong even when you're breaking inside. So the woman beside you should be your peace, not your pressure. If every time you open your mouth, she turns your feelings into a debate, if every time you try to share, she rolls her eyes, dismisses, or mocks what you're saying, then you're not in partnership, you're in emotional isolation. And that kind of loneliness, being unseen by the one person who should see you, is brutal. It eats away at your confidence, your energy, your drive. A supportive woman doesn't fix your problems. She fuels your purpose. She listens without judgment. She encourages when life gets heavy, and she reminds you of your power when the world makes you doubt it. That kind of woman amplifies a man. But the opposite, the one who drains, who criticizes, who constantly keeps score, she weakens him slowly, and he doesn't even notice it's happening until he's already lost himself. Emotional support isn't about words, it's about presence. It's when she sits beside you and says, "I believe in you," even when you don't believe in yourself. It's when she trusts your direction enough to stand beside it. That's love with depth. That's the kind of connection that makes a man unstoppable. But when she can't give you that, when she mocks your ambition, questions your decisions, or refuses to stand beside your vision, you owe it to yourself to walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you understand something most men never do. A woman who doesn't support your growth will eventually sabotage it. So don't chase the one who drains your energy. Choose the one who protects it. Because the right woman will never compete with your focus. She'll multiply it. Now tell me, do you feel like the person you care about truly supports your purpose, or just your convenience? Comment below. And if this message hit you deep, like, share, and subscribe. Because every man deserves to know what real support feels like. There's something powerful that happens when a man finally understands what he deserves. He stops chasing attention and starts demanding alignment. And that's the moment most women either rise to meet him or quietly drift away. Because when a man steps into his worth, he becomes unpredictable. His silence stops being confusion and starts becoming control. His distance stops being weakness and turns into mystery. And that's exactly when she starts to feel it, the obsession. See, women are not drawn to men who over-explain or beg for reassurance. They're drawn to men whose energy speaks louder than their words. The kind of man who knows that walking away isn't punishment, it's power. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. It creates space for her to feel the absence of your energy, and that absence becomes her mirror. She starts remembering what it felt like to have your attention, your validation, your presence, and that memory haunts her. It's not manipulation, it's balance. When you stop pouring into someone who took your effort for granted, you force them to face their own emotional reality. Suddenly, she begins to wonder, did I lose something rare? That uncertainty is what ignites her obsession. The same man she once ignored becomes the one she can't stop thinking about, because he's no longer trying to prove his value. He's embodying it. Understand this. Your silence, when rooted in self-respect, becomes the loudest message you can ever send. It tells her, I don't need to convince you to value me. I already know my worth, and that's magnetic. That's the kind of energy that shifts the entire dynamic. When she realizes she can't control your emotions, she starts to crave your presence again. That's the psychology behind attraction. People want what withdraws from them with dignity, not desperation. Your absence triggers curiosity, your composure triggers respect, and your self-control, that triggers desire. So remember, your silence isn't weakness. It's the moment the game flips. It's when she begins to understand what she lost. And trust me, once a woman sees you standing in your power, calm, grounded, focused, she won't forget it, ever. Now tell me, have you ever used silence as strength and watched how everything changed? Comment your experience below, and if this truth hit home, like, share, and subscribe, because the next part will show you exactly why she reacts that way deep in her psychology. When a man goes silent after giving his all, something deep inside a woman begins to unravel. At first, she feels relief. She tells herself she needed space, that you're quiet means she's finally in control again. But the human mind, especially a woman's, doesn't work like that. The same silence that once felt like freedom slowly becomes a haunting echo. Because when a man who once cared suddenly withdraws with composure, Her brain starts searching for closure, and it can't find it. That's where the obsession begins. Psychologically, silence triggers uncertainty, and uncertainty amplifies emotion. She starts replaying every word, every look, every moment, trying to decode what went wrong. Did I push him too far? Why hasn't he reached out? Does he even care anymore? That cycle of doubt feeds her curiosity, and curiosity turns into fixation. But here's what most men don't realize. It's not your absence that drives her crazy. It's your emotional control. Because you're no longer reacting. You're no longer chasing. You've shifted from being predictable to being a mystery. And mystery is magnetic. When she can't read you, she starts to feel you more deeply than before. You've now created something she can't manipulate. Emotional contrast. When you were always available, she knew exactly how to reach you. But now, she has to earn your energy. Every second she spends wondering what you're thinking builds value in her mind. That's how you become rare again, not by doing more, but by doing less with intention. This is the core of masculine psychology that most men forget. Your emotional detachment doesn't push her away, it reveals her true attachment. The woman who truly values you will miss your presence deeply, reflect on her behavior, and try to rebuild connection with respect. But the one who only valued control, she'll fade away, and that's exactly how you separate the real from the fake. So understand this. Silence isn't revenge, it's revelation. It doesn't punish, it exposes. And when you master it, you stop playing games and start commanding energy. Tell me in the comments, have you ever gone quiet and watched her chase your presence again? If this message resonated, like, share, and subscribe. Because the final truth will change the way you handle every connection for the rest of your life. Now let me tell you the truth that most men never understand until they've already lost themselves. Your silence is not about her, it's about you. It's about rediscovering your worth, your peace, your emotional control. Because once you've reached that point, where you can walk away without anger, without needing closure, without trying to prove anything, you've unlocked a level of power most people never reach. You see, real strength isn't in chasing her to make her understand your value. It's in standing so firmly in your peace that she feels your absence more than she ever felt your presence. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. You're not punishing her, you're protecting yourself. You're no longer seeking validation from someone who couldn't recognize your worth when she had it. And that shift, that calm detachment, that's what turns you from an option into a standard. Because deep down, she knows it. Every time you stay silent instead of reacting, every time you choose patience over panic, every time you protect your energy instead of defending your ego, you show her something rare. You show her a man who can't be emotionally controlled. And the truth is, control is the currency of modern relationships. Whoever controls their emotions controls the dynamic. When she realizes that your happiness doesn't depend on her response, that her absence doesn't shake your direction, that your silence isn't a plea but a boundary, she starts to see you differently. That's when she feels it deep in her chest, the weight of your absence, the strength of your self-owe.